Tensions between the Pope and Donald Trump show no sign of a ceasefire. Today, the Pope laid into tyrants who are willing to spend billions on weapons while the world is ravaged by war and poverty. But maybe he wasn't talking about Donald Trump. He didn't mention him by name. J.D. Vance, who recently converted to Catholicism, you might remember he killed Pope Francis, right? Remember Liz Truss she was the prime minister briefly. She met with the Queen. The Queen dropped dead. And then J.D. Vance met with Pope Francis. And hours later, the Pope dropped dead. Anyway, J.D. Vance, who recently converted to Catholicism, in a speech before an empty Turning Point auditorium said, quote, "The Pope needs to watch what he says about theology." The arrogance of stupidity. The most arrogant people are always the dumbest. And then you have Republicans in Congress like Texas Republican Troy Nehls saying the Pope should stay out of politics. He said the American people didn't elect the Pope to be president. Yeah, and we didn't elect Donald Trump to be Pope or Jesus. I think he's trying to convince us he's Jesus and not the Pope. Meanwhile, the Pope's brother, Louis Prevost, is a Trump supporter, big MAGA supporter, and was actually invited by Trump to come visit him in Mar-a-Lago. But that didn't stop a Trump supporter from phoning in several bomb threats to the Pope's brother at his home in Lenox, Illinois this week because the Pope is criticizing Trump. And if you criticize Trump, we're going to go after, not we, but Trump supporters are going to go after your loved ones. Just like the Pope's brother, Marjorie Taylor Greene, was a huge supporter of Donald Trump's. But after she demanded release of the Epstein files, she was forced to quit Congress, mostly because of the death threats to her family, specifically for some reason, one of her sons. Now, Greene says she called Trump in December, asked him to put an end to the death threats. We knew about this immediately. It's getting traction now. I told you about this back in January, but she was appearing on Piers Morgan Wednesday night, and this is now a big story, but I told you about this back in January. Greene said Trump told her during their conversation if her son ends up dead, she would have nobody but herself to blame because she went up against Donald Trump. White House border czar Tom Homan laid into the Pope on Thursday and said someone from the Catholic Church should pay Tom Homan a visit so Tom Homan could sit the church down and educate the Pope about immigration. You know, the Pope is a big critic of Donald Trump's border policy. Well, after Homan said that, the Trump administration this week canceled an $11 million contract with Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Miami. The contract was more than 60 years old. It's the Catholic Church taking care of unaccompanied minors who come to America. They provide shelter, foster care. They try to reunite the kids with their parents. They help them deal with trauma. It originally dated back to the fall of Batista, and a lot of Cuban exiles came to Miami, and the Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Miami began helping these refugees. Monsignor Brian Walsh is running Catholic Charities down in Miami. He says he's going to have to close it down in 3 months. You might recall during the 2024 presidential race, J.D. Vance, who just converted to Catholicism, accused the Catholic Church of getting rich off migrants. He said that's why then Pope Francis, who J.D. Vance, I think, killed. I don't have any proof about that. I don't have proof that former Prime Minister Liz Truss killed our Queen. I don't have proof that J.D. Vance killed our Pope, but he was pretty much the last person our Pope saw. But when Pope Francis was criticizing Trump's border policy back in 2024, J.D. Vance, Pope killer, said the only reason the Pope is saying this is because the Catholic Church gets rich off migrants, because the government gives them money to take care of migrants. J.D. Vance. The Pope said, I'm not afraid of the Trump administration. He took to Twitter and said, woe to those who manipulate religion and the very name of God for their own military, economic, and political gain, dragging that which is sacred into darkness and filth. Is there anybody better than our Pope? Who's better than the Pope?